Hey guys, welcome to this video. So now that you know how to answer every single question type, what we're going to do now is I'm going to be answering an entire reading test for you here. So I'm going to be going through each one of the passages, passage number 1, then 2, then 3, and I'm going to be finishing this reading test from the beginning to the end. So since there are 3 passages and I do want to keep these videos short, I'm going to be splitting this exam that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be splitting it into 3 videos. So in this video, we're going to answer reading passage number 1, and then in the next video, I'm going to answer reading passage number 2, and then in the next video after that, I will be answering reading passage number 3. So in these 3 videos, you will get a good sense of how to answer the entire reading test from the beginning to the end. So let's begin. Here we have our reading passage number 1. By the way, this example, all of this entire test, in fact, it comes from the Cambridge IELTS book number 12. This is test number 7. So in test number 7, we're going to be doing reading passage number 1 in this video. So here is our first question. The first question is a headings question, and you might remember that these don't go in order, and these are more on the challenging side, so you want to save these questions for the end. But before I just leave these questions and I move on to doing the easy questions first, the first thing you have to still do is mark the keywords. Mark the keywords so that when you are answering the easy questions, if you happen to come across any of these keywords, you can mark them, and then it will be much easier for you to answer these questions when you do return back to them at the end. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to be marking some of the most important keywords in the answer choices here. So in the first answer choice, it seems to be focusing on the correct timing. The importance of getting the timing right, okay? It's all about timing here. Second one, young meets old. Number 3, developments to the disadvantages. That's going to be a major keyword, disadvantages, or disadvantage in this case, of tortoise populations. Okay, so the tortoise populations were somehow at a disadvantage. That's what we're looking for with number 3. Number 4, planning a bigger idea. Bigger idea. Planning is also part of it. That's pretty much the whole answer choice there. With number 5, tortoises populate the islands. This is more about population. The next one, carrying out a carefully prepared operation. Okay, this one is about a carefully prepared operation. Next, number 7, looking for a home for the island's tortoises. So this one is about looking for a home. And then finally, the start of the conservation project. So here you will notice that we have a total of 8 answer choices, number 1 through 8. And here we only have 7 questions. So that means that one of these answer choices is not going to be used. So once you have marked these keywords, all you have to do is just leave them alone, kind of have them in the back of your mind, the ones that you've just highlighted, and move on to the next set of questions. We're going to return back to the headings questions at the end. So here is our next set of questions. It's just these fill in the blank questions over here. And then we have our reading passage number 2. So we'll go over that in the next video. In this video, we're just going to be focusing on answering these fill in the blank questions, and after we answer these easy questions first, then we're going to go ahead and do the difficult headings questions next. Okay. So again, the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to mark the keywords, just like with headings questions. Also be sure to read the instructions. Here you can only write an answer that contains 1 word. Very important. Okay, here it's talking about originally from mainland South America. That's going to be an easy keyword. I can remove that actually. This is a better keyword. But here we don't have any questions to answer. This is just a statement. But still, it can be useful to mark the keywords in the statements because they can still help you to locate the correct area in which you should be looking for your answer. Because we know that these fill-in-the-blank questions, they go in order. That means that the answer to question number 9 is going to come after the answer to question number 8. And the answer to question number 8 is going to come after these sentences right here, these statements. Even though they're not asking us for an answer, they will still go in order, one after the other, and so on. So this can still be useful. Okay, here we're talking about the numbers on Galapagos Islands. They increased due to lack of predators. Down here, we have great keywords, 17th century, 1790s. Those are great keywords. Okay, something about whaling ships. We don't really need to be, so much on the lookout for these other keywords. Once you find one great keyword, you can pretty much figure out the rest of it. So the first priority should be to locate that main keyword, the easiest keyword. Once you find that area in the reading passage, then you can start to look for other keywords from the question within that area. So once I find the keyword 1790s, then once I locate that area in the reading passage, then within that area, I'm going to be looking for other keywords from this question, such as whaling ships. And also, be careful about these connecting words. Kept for what? Used by who? That's going to be a noun. So these words that are connecting words, the words that come right before the blank line and words that come right after the blank line, these words can give you clues about what is the right answer. Because the correct answer has to fit here in this blank line like a jigsaw puzzle. It has to be the perfect fit. It has to be grammatically correct. It has to be the correct syntax, the correct structure, the correct plurality. Okay, so the correct answer is going to fit in here like a jigsaw puzzle. So these words that come right before the blank line and right after the blank line, they can help you to determine if the answer choice that you have chosen is in fact the correct answer choice. Okay, let us move on. Over here is talking about how this was used to produce something, kept for. These are keywords we can pay more attention to later on, okay? But these are not the main keywords that I'm looking for. The main keywords that I'm going to be looking for are going to be 1790s, or in this case, 17th century, okay? I'm looking for the main keywords first, and then I'm looking for the other keywords. Question number 11, something about being hunted by someone, right? They have to be hunted by someone. On the islands. Number 12, habitat destruction, establishment, agriculture is going to be easy to find. Various dash, not native. Baby tortoises, that will be easy to find as well. All right, so we have all of our keywords now. And another thing to pay attention to is the title. Now, the title can actually help you to figure out what is the correct paragraph where you're going to find your answers. Because this title tells us that all of this information is talking about the decline of the Galapagos tortoise. All of this is about the decline. So any paragraph where we notice it's talking about decline, that is going to be our correct paragraph in which we're going to find all the answers for this. One more thing I want to point out is that I remember that in our headings questions, we had a keyword, and that keyword was disadvantage. It is very likely that this disadvantage, the paragraph in which it's going to talk about this disadvantage, is going to be the same paragraph in which it's going to talk about this decline, because decline and disadvantage, they might talk about the same ideas. Okay, so let us start to now scan for our answers to these questions. we are going to be scanning for these keywords. But do remember, keep in mind that while you are scanning for the answers to these questions, you also have to have in the back of your mind these keywords, just so that if you happen to come across any of them, you can mark them and make your job easier when you do return back to these questions at the end. So let us have these in the back of our heads. Timing right, young meets old, disadvantage, planning a bigger idea, tortoises populate the island, carefully prepared operation, looking for a home, and conservation project. Those are the keywords. We're going to have them in the back of our minds while we look for our answers to these easy questions. So here, I'm going to start off by looking for mainland South America, because that's a proper noun, and then also Galapagos. And that will tell me, actually, you know what? I don't need to do that. 17th century is going to be very easy to find. In fact, even though I marked these keywords, these could be useful to help us locate the answer to the next question, because once we figure out where this area is, we can figure out that this area has to come after this area. So these keywords could be useful. But in this case, I have such a fantastic keyword, 17th century, that I really don't need these keywords. So I'm going to mark them out. I don't need those. I'm just going to start here directly from 17th century. So let's look for that. And then also 1790s. Okay, here we go. Nothing there. Here I see 17th century. Here I see 1790s. Let's just make sure that these keywords don't appear again. Nope. Pretty sure I'm going to find my answers in this paragraph. Okay. Now our question says, 17th century, small numbers taken onto ships used by who? Let's find out. So here it says, from the 17th century onwards, pirates took a few on board for food, but the arrival of whaling ships in the 1790s saw this exploitation grow exponentially. Okay, so who took a few on board? Pirates did. That's what it says over here. Took a few on board. A few. A few is synonym language for a small number. Small numbers taken onto ships, on board, right? They took a few on board. On board is synonym language for taking onto ship. Used by who? Pirates. Pirates is the correct answer there. So let's go ahead and fill that in. Pirates. Okay, so the answer is pirates. Let us go ahead and just mark that over here as well, just so that you can see it easily. Okay, now the next question asked us about something related to this keyword and whaling ships. So let us look at the question. The question says, 1790s, very large numbers taken onto whaling ships kept for what? And also used to produce what? So we are looking for two nouns here. So these tortoises were kept for something and used to produce something. Let us find out what that is. Over here it says, but the arrival of whaling ships in the 1790s saw this exploitation grow exponentially. Now notice how they're talking here about exploitation. This could be synonym language for disadvantage. Remember, we talked about this keyword from the headings question, disadvantage. It could be talking about a disadvantage here. We're not sure, but let's keep reading on and let's confirm. So they were kept for something and used for something. Here it says that they acted as food supplies. To act as food supplies means to be used for something. So let's read this sentence. Here it says, relatively immobile and capable of surviving for months without food or water, the tortoises were taken on board these ships to act as food supplies during long ocean passages. So we know that they were used for food. In the next sentence, it says sometimes their bodies were processed into high-grade oil. So it said, what did we produce with them? What were they used to produce? They were used to produce oil. To produce is synonym language for processed into. That is synonym language. So let us go ahead and fill that in as our answers. Very large numbers taken onto whaling ships kept for what? For food. Also used to produce what? They were processed into oil. Notice I don't say high-grade oil. I don't say food supplies, even though that's what is said in the passage. I don't say that because here we can only have an answer that is one word. One word only. Great. Let us move on to our next question, number 11. Hunted by who on the islands? Hunted by someone. Let's find that out. So we found the answer to question number 10 here. So the answer to number 11 has to come after this point. Now, if you want, you can put the question numbers next to the area where you found the answers for them so that you can figure out the order in which to look for the answers. So here we found the answer to question number 8 over here, number 9 here, number 10 here, so 11 has to be somewhere down here. So you can put the question numbers next to the area where you find the answers. If that helps you, if you want to do that, go ahead and do it. I'm not going to do this here because I feel that I'm going to find all of my answers in one or maybe two paragraphs. So I don't have to look around, I don't have to jump throughout my reading passage to try to find these answers because fill in the blank questions tend to be pretty simple most of the times. They're not going to be more than 1 to 2 paragraphs. And I know that this whole question set is talking about the decline of the Galapagos tortoise. So that decline is really going to be talked about in one main paragraph, maybe 2 paragraphs. So because I'm not expecting to be searching throughout the entire reading passage, I don't feel that I need to put the numbers of the questions next to them, next to the answers. So I'm not going to do that. But if it helps you, go ahead and feel free to do so. Okay, let's move on to question number 11. We want to find out who was hunting the tortoises. So let's look for that language, something related to hunting. It says exploitation over here. That could be some sort of synonym language, but not exactly. Okay, over here I see hunted. Hunted. So that is going to be my main keyword. Hunted. Let's find out who was hunting the tortoises. They hunted the tortoises and destroyed their habitat to clear land for agriculture. Okay, they hunted, but who are they? Who is that pronoun referring to? In order to find out, we have to read the previous sentence to which this pronoun is referring back to. Okay, so let's read that previous sentence. Here it says, this historical exploitation was then exacerbated. Exacerbated means to make something worse. Okay, to make something worse. It was then exacerbated when settlers came to the islands. Settlers. Settlers are the ones who hunted the tortoises. They destroyed their habitat. So that is going to be the correct answer for question number 11. Settlers. Hunted by settlers on the islands. Let's fill that in over here. Great. Now we only have one more question left, question number 12 for this question set, and we are looking for something related to habitat destruction. Actually two, 12 and 13. One question, but split up into 2 answers. So let's look for this keyword, habitat destruction. Okay, here we go. Habitat, destroyed their habitat. That is synonym language for habitat destruction. To destroy habitat. Okay, so we've found our area. So let's go ahead and read the question as well. Habitat destruction for the establishment of agriculture and by various what? Various something that are not native to the islands. What are not native to the islands? Not native. They do not belong there. They hunted the tortoises and destroyed their habitat to clear land for agriculture. Okay, we know that it was for agriculture. They also introduced alien species. Okay, the word alien means not native, something that does not belong. Like aliens from outer space, they do not belong on the earth, or they are not common to the earth, right? So that's why we say that they are aliens in the UFOs. The same word we use for species as well. For example, I might say that cattle, pigs, goats, rats, they do not belong in this area because they come from other countries, from other areas. Okay? So to be alien means that it is not native there, it is not commonly found there. So alien species were introduced ranging from cattle, pigs, goats, rats, and dogs to plants and ants that either prey on the eggs and young tortoises. Okay, young is synonym language for babies, right? Young tortoises, baby tortoises. Remember, we saw that down here, it talked about baby tortoises. That is synonym language. Or damage or destroy their habitat. Okay, so what did they introduce? They introduced alien species, species that do not belong. So species is going to be the correct answer here. I'm going to put that in green. So here it says, for the establishment of agriculture and by various species not native to the islands. Now the next part here says, which also fed on baby tortoises and tortoises what? Something that belongs to tortoises. We see that here with the apostrophe. We are looking for something that belongs to the tortoises. So they fed on baby tortoises, and we already found the synonym language for that. It said young tortoises up here. But here it says that either prey on the eggs and young tortoises or damage or destroy their habitat. So these eggs, they belong to the tortoises. They prey on their eggs. That is synonym language for to feed on. To prey on is synonym language for to feed on. To prey means to hunt and then eat an animal. To be fed also means to eat. So they're talking about the same thing. That is synonym language. So these alien species fed on baby tortoises and on tortoises' eggs. Eggs. That is the correct answer there. Okay, so we have now finished answering all of our fill-in-the-blank questions. We are now done with all of our easy questions, and now we can move on to answering the difficult questions next. So in this first reading passage, we only had 2 question sets. We already did this one, and now we only have one more left, which is the headings questions. So we can do those next. And the question for you now is, which headings question do you start with? Which one should you start with? Can you guess? Well, first, I'm going to start off by answering this question first. Okay? Because we just answered a whole bunch of questions from fill in the blanks that talked about the decline of the Galapagos tortoise. All of these questions are talking about disadvantages. How we exploited tortoises, how we took large numbers of them, we used them for food, for producing oil, how they were hunted by settlers, how we destroyed their habitat with alien species, and then the alien species ate their babies and their eggs. All of that sounds terrible. That is all talking about disadvantages. So I'm going to start there. So this answer choice number 3, is going to be the correct fit for paragraph B. I'm pretty sure of that. So we're just going to put number 3 next to paragraph B. That is the correct answer choice. Okay, let us move on now. Now what I have to do is, can you guess? I'm going to start off by answering the questions for which we have the shortest paragraphs. So here, that is paragraph C, paragraph D, and paragraph G. So I'm going to first do C, then D, then I will do G, then I will do E, and then I will do the remaining paragraphs, paragraph A and paragraph F. Those are the two largest ones. So I'm going to keep those for the end. So let us begin by first answering paragraph C. So you might remember now, the way to answer the headings questions is we just have to read the topic sentence, which is the first sentence, and the second sentence. And if you still don't find the answer, then go ahead and read the final sentence in the paragraph. The headings question is not asking you for specific information. Rather, the headings question is asking you about the main idea of the paragraph. What is the main idea, the gist of that paragraph? And the way to find out the gist or the main idea is just by reading the first and the second sentence and maybe the last sentence of the paragraph, and that will tell you everything that you need to know about what this paragraph is about. So let's go ahead and do that. The first sentence here, it says, today, only 11 of the original subspecies survive, and of these, several are highly endangered. Okay, so we are going to be focused on endangered species, how they are endangered. That seems to be the main point of focus here. Next sentence says, in 1989, work began on a tortoise breeding center just outside the town of Puerto Villamil on Isabela, dedicated to protecting the island's tortoise populations. Okay, so here is talking about how we began to work on something so that we could protect the island's tortoise populations. We wanted to save them, protect them, conserve them. I remember seeing something about conservation here. Over here, down here, it says the start of the conservation project. Okay, to conserve means to save, to protect, to take care of. So it's talking about how this project started. That was for paragraph C. So that is the correct answer for paragraph C. Let us move on. Paragraph D is next. It is also a very short paragraph, so we'll begin there. The problem was also a pressing one. To be a pressing problem means to be a very important problem, a serious problem. Next sentence says, captive bred tortoises can't be introduced into the wild until they're at least 5 years old and weigh at least 4.5 kilograms, at which point their size and weight and their hardened shells are sufficient to protect them from predators. Okay, so what it's talking about is that these captive bred tortoises cannot be reintroduced into the wild at the wrong time. They have to be introduced at the right time. Okay, timing is very important, and it talks about that over here, the importance of getting the timing right. The timing includes allowing enough time for them to reach the correct age, the correct size, so that they can have the time to grow their shells, for their shells to become hardened, so that predators cannot prey upon them, cannot hunt them. So the correct answer choice number 1, is going to belong to number 4. Question number 4. Okay, let us move on to our next shortest paragraph, which I believe was paragraph G. Yep, so we're going to start with that one next. Now here the first sentence reads, upon their release, the juvenile tortoises quickly spread out over their ancestral territory, investigating their new surroundings and feeding on the vegetation. Okay, so here it's talking about how the juvenile tortoises quickly spread out. That's what it's talking about, how they quickly spread out. Let us also read the second sentence. Eventually, one tiny tortoise came across a fully grown giant who had been lumbering around the island for around 100 years. Okay, so it's talking about how a tiny tortoise came across a fully grown giant. Let us look at our answer choices. Here is talking about how young meets old. A tiny tortoise meets a fully grown one. Young meets old. There's no other answer choice here that can be the correct fit for that. Tortoises populate the islands. Maybe that, because it does say here it says how juvenile tortoises quickly spread out. But here it's really focusing on young tortoises. Juvenile means young, babies, children. That is what it means to be juvenile. So it could be that, but we're not sure, right? So when you're not sure, what you have to do is just read the final sentence of the paragraph, and then you can be sure. So let's go ahead and read the final sentence. The two stood side by side, a powerful symbol of the regeneration of an ancient species. The two stood side by side, the young and the old. So now I'm sure that the correct answer is going to be number 2 for paragraph G. There we go. Let us now move on to the next shortest paragraph, which is E. E is the next shortest paragraph. So here we go. For years, repatriation efforts were carried out in small numbers, with the tortoises carried on the backs of men over weeks of long, treacherous hikes along narrow trails. But in November 2010, the environmentalist and Galapagos National Park liaison officer Godfrey Merlin, a visiting private motor yacht captain, and a helicopter pilot gathered around a table in a small cafe in Puerto Ayora on the island of Santa Cruz to work out more ambitious reintroduction. Okay, so they want to do something bigger. That's what they're saying, that they want to reintroduce the tortoises at a larger scale. Here they're talking about how before we used to carry the tortoises in small numbers over the backs of men, right? This wasn't very effective. But what they want to do now is do something bigger, something more ambitious. And I saw that as my answer choice over here, planning a bigger idea. So that is going to be the correct answer choice for paragraph E, question number 5. That is going to be number 4. All right, now let us move on to our next shortest paragraph. Now we only have paragraphs A and F left, so maybe we'll just start over here with paragraph A. Forests of spiny cacti cover much of the uneven lava plains that separate the interior of the Galapagos island of Isabela from the Pacific Ocean. With its 5 distinct volcanoes, the island resembles a lunar landscape. Okay, it seems to just be describing this region. I'm not sure about which answer choice is the best fit for that. I'm going to go ahead and read the final sentence as well. In the absence of significant predators, they grew to become the largest and longest living tortoises on the planet, weighing more than 400 kilograms, occasionally exceeding 1.8 meters in length and living for more than a century. Okay, so here it's talking about how in the absence of predators, these tortoises were able to grow to large sizes, and it's talking about their native land. Actually, it's talking about their native habitat, the area in which they used to live. And here if you scan some keywords, you can see how it's talking about colonization, settling, population. So it's basically talking about how the tortoises used to be before human arrival. The next paragraph starts to talk about human arrival, and here it's talking about before human arrival. So here it's talking about how the tortoises populated the islands. There was a time when the tortoises used to populate the island. They used to grow to huge sizes, huge weights. Okay, so that is going to be the answer for paragraph A. And then finally we have paragraph F. Let's see what that one is about. This unprecedented effort was made possible by the owners of the 67-meter yacht White Cloud, who provided the Galapagos National Park with free use of their helicopter and its experienced pilot, as well as the logistical support of the yacht, its captain, and crew. Originally an air ambulance, the yacht's helicopter has a rear double door and a large internal space that's well suited for cargo. So a custom crate was designed to hold up to 33 tortoises with a total weight of about 150 kilograms. Okay, so it's really talking about how they carried out a certain mission. It was some sort of a mission, some sort of a project that they were working on. So if we come up to our answer choices here, we can see that the correct answer choice is going to be this, number 6, carrying out a carefully prepared operation. It was some sort of a mission, an operation, and it was carefully prepared with the help of these helicopters and all of these different resources. So that is going to be the correct answer for paragraph F. Number 6. So that's it for this video. In the next one, we're going to be continuing answering this reading test. In the next one, we're going to be answering reading passage number 2.